The new series of the Doctor Who spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea, has finally landed. It's about as ideology-filled as with the last series that we had with Ncuti Gatwa, from the butchering of the sea devils to the blatant lecture about the waters and pollution. I would say that it was to be expected. However, it was also better than what I was probably expecting, if I had any expectations whatsoever, which was a very low bar indeed. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters.
I crown you Queen of the Woke!
Let's chat about it. Please let me know what you think of the series in the comment section below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What improvements would you like to see? And all of that. It is okay to like the series, and of course, naturally, it is okay to not like the series. I am open to receiving all opinions like normal, and please do keep it friendly with each other, because I know what Doctor Who can do. It really does rile people up. In this video, I will be discussing the first part, which is Homo Aqua, which was written by Russell T Davies, and I am going to point out at this stage, it is the only one that is written by Russell T Davies, okay? The Doctor is not around to help. Barclay, who organises the transportation for UNIT, is called upon by mistake for a special mission as a civilian. It was a case of mistaken identity. The reason being is because at the start of the show, we see a fishing boat that catches a sea devil, and they essentially off it, talking in code. Of course, UNIT are then called upon to the corpse to look at the corpse along with Barclay, where the general dubs them now as Homo Aqua, not sea devils. UNIT sends a message out to sea devils to make contact with them. So by default, the humans are making contact with the sea devils and not the other way around. It wakes up the sea devils, brings them to the surface to make communication. They communicate and they talk about living in peace and harmony. So they open up a tunnel to bring through the sea devils, and they go into peace talks with presents, gifts. Salt gives them a lecture about the planet and says her children are dead. She says that they will only communicate with Barclay because she saw him making the sign of the cross. Okay. So I went in with very little expectation, and I did this on purpose. I didn't want my review to be shrouded with opinion of the last two series, and as normal, I haven't watched any other review at this present moment in time of recording. That way I can give the most honest review that I possibly can, where nothing has been swayed or shrouded, whatever. Now, I've watched both, and I can now officially tie in anything from the last series that we've had and anything that I have said in the past, okay? I wanted to just give it the clear benefit of the doubt, and I think that is fair. I'm going to also point out that I think they are trying to make Pete McTighe the next showrunner. He has worked on this as an executive producer. I think if they do this, then they are making a mistake. I think they need a fresh face completely. I will say that the two parts that we've had so far, they're better than what we got with Ncuti Gatwa. I do have many an issue with this story so far. Nothing, though, I will say, about this series screams childish, which is good in that sense. The script was written in 2023 and the first read through was in 2024, and I believe they filmed it 2025 off the top of my head. That would have given RTD enough time to make any changes according to audience feedback. And I think audience feedback is probably the most important criticism that you could ever receive as a writer. That's just an opinion, though. And I have already noted that it lacked the childish behavior, which is good, and the writing was instantly darker. And in the realms of Doctor Who, or any Doctor Who spin-off, darker is better. The biggest issue I have noted when you are looking at the story is that there are, well, this first part of the story anyway, and the second part actually for that matter, there's quite a lot of discourse, which gives me a cause for concern that the resolution to the final part may be too quick. I would suggest with regards to the structure, it would be best, like classic, to spread the discourse out, okay, we are often told by Russell T Davies and the other people who work on this series that people, especially younger people, cannot focus on the series like from a classic generation. Yet they seem to be relying on that fact that people will focus on this. The cliffhanger was not even a cliffhanger, for goodness sake. It was just Barkley being chosen by Salt, the fishy lady, because he respected their sea devil, their dead sea devil, by making the sign of a cross. Okay? And oh, by the way, I didn't like Kate's line afterwards. Oh, what? So they're Christians now? I think it was in this part that she said it. I don't know. It all blurred into one. Anyway, I am sure that when I take a look at the ratings on Friday, that will tell me everything that I need to know about that opinion. Now, Russell Tovey himself was actually very good. He plays a convincing straight man, doesn't he? And I'm just saying that because of the comments that RTD has made in the past about how gay men should play gay men, etc., etc., etc. Double standards, that type of thing. He plays it like a man that has accidentally fallen in on everything, which actually that's kind of what has happened. He does play it very confused and somewhat hesitant. I was fine with his performance, very much so. After all, the actors are there to bring the words to life. Any of the shoddy writing is not on the actors, and obviously they need to do as they are directed. Gugu, who plays Salt, that was an interesting choice. She doesn't blink. Her pronunciation was extremely clear. Her diction was phenomenal. And I would say that as someone who is observing the sound across general with diction with other people. I don't know if this is BBC sound or whatever, but her enunciation, oh my goodness. I don't know if that was an acting choice, or I don't know if that is a performance standard from her. Right, okay, the Sea Devils. Let's address the biggest elephant in the room, okay? Because I have several things to chat about with them. The new design for them. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. It is so bad. Now, I know the costume and effects department have been instructed to do this by the powers at the top to change the design. They are only doing what they are told and what they are going according to the brief, okay? The character design behind the Sea Devils has been lost. I know as a preference for an actor, it is better to have eyes to react to. However, I also understand the importance of a very clear difference between human and sea dwelling creatures. I would majorly be concerned if fish in real life started to look like us. Let's just put it like that, okay? They should have been kept as a sea devil, you know? Even Chibs managed to kind of do it. The original design is more creepy and far more thrilling than what we've got here. What we got here seems to be going for terrifying, but it's not really terrifying. The new design also falls into the more generic run of CGI, and the practicality behind that then gets lost because they have done that. Whatever they have made is not what I would call a sea devil. Now, the name change as well, let's also address that. The change from sea devil to Homo Aqua, because it is racist. The sea devils do not refer to themselves at all, if I recall, in the main run as the sea devils. That was bestowed on them by others, okay? Now, I never considered the term sea devils to be racist. Everyone has a name for a creature or another being. We never consider the feelings of an octopus, do we? And really, do other people read into it that much? It's like Davros all over again. Isn't it, if you think about it, right? Okay. I will change it because it is problematic without checking with other people if they think it's problematic. Typical of Russell T Davies, right? Very much so. What I think is completely ironic is that they don't have the Sea Devils making the correction here. It would have been better if it came from the Sea Devils, I will say. It's the general, okay, that says Homo Aqua. And one of the other characters corrects him and says it's, sorry, I'm going to butcher this, right? Homo spondyle erectus. And then the general says, I say Homo Aqua because that's what it looks like. First of all, that implies that they are an object, which the sea devil is not. And secondly, the term Homo Aqua, based on looks, is more blatant and saying it and stating it than using the name sea devils, where they've not in the past ever said, well, I'm calling them a sea devil because that is what they look like. Okay? Wow, so judgmental. So RTD changes the name, but then he wrote something that would have, if I were not watching for a review, probably switched off the set at this point. Okay, so changes the name, but then he turns Homo Aqua into a joke. Now, RTD is gay, okay, so he can do that if he wants to, fine, whatever. However, he has a father and a mother undermine the sea devils by mocking them by saying their name translates into gay water. And said mother and father also joke about their daughter's sexuality. It's up to him, of course, it is, okay, but do we really need to stop the plot at the expense of making a joke about sexuality? No. Now, their daughter, she's non-binary. I know people will say that it's trans, but it's not. It's just non-conformity. One of the things I said about the Star Beast was that the plot was stopped for a pronoun lecture. I said that if you have to do it, then integrate it into the plot naturally. So don't stop at the story. Don't tell us, oh, are you assuming this as a pronoun? Not that sort of attitude, okay? You want to be accepted in society with gender non-conforming pronouns, then don't make a big song and dance about it. Okay, in this case, we did not get the pronoun lecture for the daughter. Woohoo, which is great. I noticed it, all right, but there was no hoo-ha made about it. Okay, considering all humans want to live their lives naturally, this is better in regards to plot flow. However, the gender lecture was moved to the sea devils instead. Now, I think I did say do it with perhaps like an alien or something along those lines. All right, so in this case, make of it what you will. The unit member said, and it was more to do with how it was said, okay? The unit member said male for the sea devil. I'm just checking I've got this right. And the response from the female scientist, I think she's a scientist of some kind, okay? It's pretty, like, I wasn't all that enamored with the character. We got, don't call them that. Okay, well, first of all, can we just move away from that activist speak lecture? And secondly, did it need to be all that snappy? Don't call them that. Well, you called them Homo Aqua because that's what they look like. Okay? So, how many times can I say okay in this? By the way, go back and count. I'm just joking. But, go figure. Activists speak. Get snappy when someone gets misgendered. Well, we don't know in this case what it is, what the gender is, excuse me. Okay? So we can't get away from those lectures, nor can we get away from lectures about the planet. I will go into more details about that when I review the second part tomorrow, because it will be more relevant there than it is here. There are things that are good about this. Visually, the cinematography for this is a big improvement from the previous two series. I like them capturing the sea devil in the beginning because it starts out with a little bit of horror, much darker in that sense. And I'm fine with that. My favorite scene was probably when the unit members are guarding the sea devils and the ground turns to water. The soldiers drown and a sea devil reclaims the body of their kin, followed by the walkie-talkie scene with the general, and he discovers that there's a hand of one of the soldiers below the cracked ground in the surface. That was really, really well done, really well performed, really well directed. The effects for it were really good. That really was my favorite scene. The peace offering and the talks of peace does make for somewhat interesting talks with the Sea Devils. Well, anyway, the comment about what the Doctor would do, that was true. We saw Pertwee do that in Classic. Overall, you see, this is very difficult for me to review, actually. Very difficult indeed, because it's like I need to point out all the bad stuff, but I also need to point out the good stuff. But it was very difficult to find major positives for me about it. Anyway, overall, I think this first part is not amazing. It is a level up from the last series, but that bar is not very high. That's what I think of Homo Aqua. Now, Homo Aqua. Now let's take a look at what you thought, okay? North 470 says, I watched a snippet for my sins and they can have their Homo Aqua as these creatures look absolutely nothing like sea devils at all. Zero resemblance to the classic look. I agree. Here's what I think. I think that they should have just created something new altogether rather than changing an existing character so drastically, or just done a traditional Sea Devil. As I said, Chibs even managed that somewhat, and some of the design was changed for that Sea Devil as well. You Robert Payne says, I thought it was well made, inconsistent nonsense. The typical of the modern era. The more one thinks about it, the more issues come up. Too much to put here. And that's why I'm going episode by episode, because there's going to be too much to put into one video. This is already running at about 15 minutes already. So, my average length for a review, let's just put it like that. Loz says, I watched the first 2 episodes as a standalone story and knowing what to expect from RTD, it's watchable, but I don't like it, especially not in the universe of Doctor Who. The political commentary is very obvious, could do with it being much more toned down. I agree. Now, tomorrow I will go into that in more detail. However, I would say that if this story was to work, then it would be better off as a David Attenborough documentary or something away completely from Doctor Who. Now, that is what I think about Homo Aqua. Please do let me know what you think in the comments section below. Check out some of the other content I have picked out for you. Thank you very much for watching. Chat about it, don't shout about it, and I will see you tomorrow with the review of Plastic Apocalypse. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.